let me start with my own story. 15 years ago, when my husband proposed marriage to me, we agreed on 2 preconditions for marriage. The first precondition was that our children were never going to go to school, and the other precondition was that we would live in a small city in India to create spaces for people who did not want to kill their love for creativity, love for learning, and love for nature. Basically, we wanted to support people to walk out of mainstream jobs, mainstream education, mainstream colleges, schools, and create their own paths of learning. This was a very adventurous way to start a new life for me, because I personally had hated my school thoroughly. I thought it was a total waste of time, energy, and resources. So we decided to move to this really romantic little city called Udaipur to start our new dream together. And when we started this dream together, we also left our very high-profile mainstream jobs to be able to do something absolutely new. We started a space called Shikshantar, I call it a people's movement, with no mission or vision statement. We just started with some open-ended questions around our own lives. And these questions were: what is real education? Who is educated? What is development? What is success? And what is it to lead a good, full life? I found that really interesting. And slowly and steadily, we started realizing that a lot of people were attracted to similar questions in their own lives also. And they started coming to us to explore with us what real learning means. We realized that real learning happens when we start asking questions. And those questions are questions about our own life, about our own learning, about our own community, and about our lifestyle. So I thought this was a really good way to start my life together. Over the years, some things have become very clear to us as we have been a part of this movement. And there are 3 basic things that I would like to share with you. The first is that each human being is intelligent and multi-talented. There are no failures. And each human being has his or her own diverse way of learning. The second belief is that we learn by doing. If you need to learn swimming, you will have to jump into water. And when you do that, you will also make mistakes. So the best way to learn, and a good way to learn, is through your own mistakes. The third thing that we also came to understand was that each human being is capable of self-designing their own learning. They do not need experts to tell them what to learn, when to learn, and how to learn. Even nature is constantly striving to learn freely. So these were some basic assumptions and some beliefs that we came to understanding as we started working. Now what happened 11 years ago, a very beautiful thing happened in my own life. And that was the birth of my dear daughter Kanku. And I remember when I was delivering Kanku, the gynecologist who helped me deliver Kanku bowed down and touched my feet and closed her eyes and said, "Whoever is capable of giving birth is no less than God." that day I learned something new. I realized that my real learning actually began that day. There is a common saying, and I'm sure many of you have heard it, that a child gives birth to her parents. And for me, that day, my real learning actually began. I also realized that I was a totally uneducated and ill-equipped person to bring this beautiful miracle into life. Because my years of schooling and colleging had never taught me about the basics of roti, kapda and makan. How many of us come out of school knowing where our food is coming from? How many of us know what we're wearing, where the clothes that we're wearing come from? And how many of us actually know how to make a house? I presume these are the three basics of life. Well, I suddenly realized that I knew nothing about these. I started questioning my own education, and I did not want to give my daughter that same kind of education. So at that point, both me and my husband decided that we would let our daughter to self-design her own learning. And so, whenever our daughter wants to learn something, we ask her what she wants to learn and how she wants to learn. Now you must be thinking that I'm saying these really crazy things. How can a child decide how she wants to learn? And what does Kanku do all day? She doesn't go to school. How is she learning? How can a child learn without school? Let me tell you, Kanku plays all day. And Kanku is a different human being when she is in nature and with animals. Kanku has, for the past 3 years, been volunteering at an animal shelter and caring for sick dogs, sick cows, sick donkeys, and learning a lot of things around sensitivity. Kanku, maybe a few months ago, witnessed the autopsy of a dead cow. And guess what came out of that cow's stomach? 60 kilos of plastic. This was a big lesson for both me and Kanku when we were witnessing that autopsy. And it really raised a lot of questions about where our waste goes. How many schooled, educated people know where their waste goes? What else does Kanku do? Kanku's dream is to become a makeup artist. And she can spend hours giving people pedicures, facials, massages. In fact, at the age of 12, she has started her own business. And she is a young entrepreneur in this field. Kanku can for hours research on YouTube about different makeup sites, hair sites. And she goes and visits different barbers and hairdressers to learn about her passion. Kanku is at the same time a jewelry designer, a filmmaker, a dancer, a cook, and a healer. I believe that Kanku's learning has happened in a very different way. And I feel that every child can learn that way. Because each child has that will to learn. Kanku has, over the years, also spends a lot of time just sitting and thinking. And when she sits to think, lots of magical ideas come out of her. Of what she wants to do, how she wants to learn, and a lot about her own gifts. It really, really assures me when I see that she is learning to appreciate her own gifts and other people's gifts. And it also saddens me a lot of times when I ask some youth or some school-going children what they are passionate about, and for about 5 minutes there's silence because they don't know what they're passionate about, what they want to learn, because they've never been asked that question. So I feel that one learning is that she is open to learning from people of all ages and all age groups. She is not learning with people only of her own age group. And that, I feel, is a very big strength. The second thing is that Kanku has never till date used the word, "I'm getting bored." She knows how to keep herself equipped and busy. And I think that it's actually the parents who have to unlearn a lot of things while raising kids, because I used to worry about that all the time. While Kanku has been growing up, we also come across this African proverb, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard. It takes a village to raise a child. It's not only a school or a family. It takes a village to raise a child. And for us, it's really important that through our work, through our lives, and through Shikshantar, we create such a learning ecosystem for Kanku and for ourselves. Now, what is a learning ecosystem? There are lots of learning ecosystems around us. But usually, a learning ecosystem would comprise of many different forms of knowledge, many different kinds of learning relationships, many different types of media, many types of different technologies, and many different types of interactions in nature. So what I decided to do when Kanku was still growing up was that I started exploring my city to look for possible gurus for my daughter. And I was shocked because I realized that there were thousands of gurus around me. And I could choose my own guru. No guru was forced onto me. There is a very beautiful, again, saying in Mewari, which is the region where I come from, that असल जनतंत्र यो नहीं है कि हम शिक्षिका ने चुन सके, हम शासिका ने चुन सके, असली जनतंत्र वो है जब हम शिक्षकों को चुन सके. Real democracy is not when we choose our leaders. Real democracy happens when we can choose our own teachers. And how many of us are actually being able to do that? When I started exploring the larger ecosystem and my own learning ecosystem, I realized that I had a lot of passions which were totally unexplored, like pottery, like cooking, or like natural dyeing. And all I had to do was go into my city and make a directory all the people around me who shared these beautiful gifts. They were all there. So I went, walked around and met lots of different people with lots of different gifts and invited them to be in a learning process with me. And believe me, most of them were passionate learners and open to sharing their skills with everyone else. This, for me, was not easy. Let me tell you, going to create a learning ecosystem for me was not easy. Why? Because I had a lot of stuff in my head that had been put into my head through my schooling and education in college. And I had to unlearn a lot of things to be able to do this. Let me tell you some of the things I have to unlearn. The first was the arrogance that no work is big or small. That you have to be in a learning process, you have to value all kinds of work. The work of a doctor is as valuable as the work of a sweeper on the road. So you have to come out of these hierarchies that we have created about work. The second unlearning that I had to do was to start trusting people. And people with many different learning styles, many different backgrounds, and many different ages. Willing to go and learn with an 80-year-old Dadi also who is weaving. Or filmmaking from a 15-year-old animation artist also. So I realized that it all was there. It was just a matter of me opening myself up a little more. One more thing that I had to do, which was very challenging, was step out of my own comfort zone. Most of us are very, very comfortable in our ready-made school world, where all the answers are ready-made for us, and we have questions that are also ready-made for us. So I had to actually step out of my own comfort zone and face the realities. I remember I went to look for an animal shelter for my daughter because she is very fond of animals, and I was exposed to blood, suffering, death, pain. And these were things that I had never actually been told are important for a learning process. I think, no. In school days, you should not be exposed to all these. You'll get disturbed, distracted. You'll never be able to give a good exam properly. Don't go to any place where you see all these. And then I started saying, actually, these are realities of life, and we need to learn from these. Another very big thing that I had to unlearn was my own relationship with money and the market. It meant that I had to start envisioning learning relationships and what learning relationships would look like if there was no money involved. I tried to take this experiment ahead and tried to live without money for a few days, maybe 4 days actually. And those were very, very beautiful experiences for me, because I realized that when I was trying to live without money, I had actually discovered things about me that I had never known. Friends came and told me, oh, Vidhi, we didn't know you were such a good cook. We didn't know you were such a good singer. Because I started understanding my own creativity and the juices that were flowing out to me. Otherwise, till now, I had say, okay, if I want to learn this, I go there, I pay so and so money, and that's it. So it was a very, very interesting process of unfolding for me also. And this has actually led me to a lot of faith in this whole concept called gift culture. And when I say gift culture, I mean a culture where we can start sharing each other's gifts freely without bringing money into it. For the past 4 years, we have been experimenting on a concept called Cultural Cafe. And this is a space where we invite friends to come and share their gifts, their skills, their songs, their music, their food. We cook together, eat together, and we try to be as genuine in that process. And at the end of the day, like any other restaurant, we don't give a bill. We just give an empty envelope and say, pay or contribute as you wish. So this has really helped us to also understand that relationships can exist without money. I would like to share 1 or 2 more things, which is, how can we also start thinking outside degrees, diplomas, and certificates? I feel these are very dehumanizing ways of labeling people. So, while I was creating a learning ecosystem for myself and my daughter, I realized that actually I didn't need to depend on all these. I could live freely and happily without having the burden of all these on me. And so we've actually been able to create a whole network of over 200 organizations in the country who are ready to employ passionate learners and to give them jobs without degrees, diplomas, and certificates. And I feel that would be a true appreciation of the practical skills and the learning that a child or a youth has had in their life. So I also invite you to start thinking of these kinds of things. And I would tell you that for me, our success in building this learning ecosystem is not whether Kanku gets a job or not, but would be if Kanku can employ 10 more people in meaningful employment as she grows. It's not running after a job, but creatively getting into your own learning ecosystem and creating something new. Thanks.